Hey everybody, it's Josiah Savar from Sinking Songs Music Production. Got a video today about mixing drums, and this is a follow-up video from something I posted last week about how we've been recording drums this year, and I just wanted to do a quick video showing how I got that drum mix in the video. And I have a feeling this is going to be more like a blog video than a how-to, instructional video or anything. Just wanted to show you kind of what I've been doing this year. I feel like I've been able to streamline things a bit better, get things done faster, and I really like the sounds that I've been getting in the drum mixes and recordings. So anyways, this is just kind of a blog video showing you what I'm doing this year. So I've got these drum tracks pulled up. These are from the video last week. You can check that out. I'll put a link up. And yeah, here's the mix. I'm going to just show you what they're sounding like right now, and then I'll turn everything off and kind of walk you through it. So here they go. So I like how those are sounding right there. It's a really good starting point, and this is where I like to get my drums sounding before I add the other things in the mix. And this session does not have any other instruments. It was just a drum video. But if we were adding bass, guitars, vocals, keyboards, whatever might add into this song, I would get the drum sounding like this first, and then I'd start adding in the other instruments. So that's kind of my process, is build the mix up instrument by instrument, starting with drums, then add the bass, then probably guitars and keyboards, and then add the vocals on top of everything. That's how I've been doing it this year. So first, drums. Let's see. Let me show you what I've got going here. I'm going to turn everything off. So first thing I do is bus all the drum tracks to a drum bus, and that's over here. So I've got, all of these are routed to the drum bus. This is a tom bus, so it's like a subgroup inside of these. So the tom tracks are routed to the tom bus, and then the tom bus is routed to the drum bus, and I'll show you why I did that in a second. So yeah, I route them all over there. That's the first thing I do, and then I just get a mix going with the faders. So just adjusting volumes, not adding any processing on them, just volume. And yeah, let's hear what just that volume balance sounds like. So something like that. These volumes might not be the exact same as when I first set them, because I added the processing on, and then probably the volumes got changed a little bit, but you can still get the gist of it. I feel like the snare is a little quiet. I think I must have added some volume with some processing I did on the snare. Yeah, something like that. So I just get a good balance with the just the volumes. And then I go over to my drum bus, and that's normally where I start adding my processing. So I have this EQ here. If I turn it on, I just cut some boxiness here. 530, I guess. Big cut around 6 decibels. And then there was a ringing over here at 145, so I completely cut that out, and then I boosted just a tiny bit here at 165, and I guess I might have rolled off a tiny bit of the highs. I don't think that really is doing anything over there, but yeah, it's just there. This is what I have. I haven't touched this mix since I put the video up, so I'm kind of rediscovering what I did, and just wanted to walk you through how I got it to sound that way. So anyways, here's the EQ on the drum bus. So it's affecting all the drums, all the drum tracks. So let me play this with the plugin off, with the EQ off first, and then I'll turn it back on. So that cleans up a lot. That does a lot. Mainly that cut right there. It cleans up a lot of that boxiness and those like undesirable frequencies in the drums. Let's hear that again with the EQ off and then on. So obviously the main difference you'll hear is in the snare, but let's listen to what it does to the toms when we're playing the toms from over here. Again, EQ off and then on. So it just cleans it up quite a bit. And that does a lot for me. It's already sounding a lot better. And then I have been doing a drum bus compressor pretty much every time. And what that does, if you're familiar with compressors, you know they turn down loud sounds, and basically it compresses the dynamic range of the track so that we get a more even sound. So with drums, what it does for me, the drum bus compressor, is it will kind of even out the levels so that we don't get any super loud drum hits coming through. It sounds more consistent and it just sounds more professional and tight. And then another thing that it does for me is it kind of flattens those peaks a little bit so that the sustain can be heard more. So especially on the snare rattle, that air on the snare drum, you can hear that better because it's relatively closer in volume to the initial attack of the note. And then same with kick drum, you get more of the sustain and the air, the things that are normally going to get lost in the mix. It brings those up and gives it overall a tighter sound. And I don't go too crazy with drum bus compression. Let's see what it sounds like before and after. So here I'm going to turn it off and then we'll turn it back on. So. So again, here it's not doing a whole ton, and I guess I didn't set it super aggressive this time, but it just gives it a little more tightness. You can mess around with drum bus compressors a lot. I've just been putting it on every time, and it really, overall, it just helps it sound more professional, I guess, and that's what we always want. And the important thing here, of course, is to set the attack to pretty slow, so that doesn't completely kill the drums. So you're basically delaying the compression. And here I have it set to 33 milliseconds. So it lets the very initial attack of the drum come through, but it still clamps down afterwards. And the reason why is you don't want to completely kill your drums. It'll suck the life out of them if you set a really fast attack and just kill everything. So yeah, that's the drum bus compressor. And normally at this point, that's about how much I do on the drum bus, at first at least, and then I go over to the individual drum tracks and see what I can do there. So let's just look real quickly at what I have. Here's the kick track. Let's solo it. A little flappy sounding. It sounds pretty good, but I feel like there's a little flappiness going on, so I think that's what I was doing here. Let's see if that's what I fixed. You still hear the flappiness. I think it gets lost in the mix. I think what I was trying to do here is cut some of the boxiness in the kick drum. Let's see what happens if I boost this and see what I was thinking. Yeah, it's just like kind of cleaning out the boxiness. Let's listen to it before. Now with it on. Not a whole bunch happening there. I think it's just cleaning up a little bit of the boxiness and cutting a little bit of the rumble. Just again, make it sound a little tighter. Snare drum, let's solo it. I have this EQ here. Again, not much. I did most of the work on the drum bus processing. So here it's just boosting a tiny bit in the lower stuff just to give it a little more fatness. and then cutting a little bit more in the low mids to cut some of that boxiness. Here I'm cutting at about 415, it looks like. Let's listen before the EQ and after. Not doing a whole ton. Really, I can't really hear too much of a difference. I think this is more, I just slapped that on real quick and it's more of a ceremonial thing. I pulled this mix together pretty quick. But again, most of the work on the snare drum is being done over here on the drum bus with that big cut over there. So yeah, it just makes the snare sound a little tiny bit cleaner on top of it. Don't go crazy cutting more low mids. It'll suck the life out of it. It'll sound really thin. Don't want to boost too much. It'll be muddy and boomy. So I guess what I was doing here is just cleaning it up a little bit more. Tom bus, I didn't do any processing on the individual tom tracks. I did it all over here. And over here I was more dramatic. It looks like I cut out a ring here at 98. Let's hear what that sounds like. It's more like a rumbling kind of thing that I cut out. And then here's like a ring. I think this was in the snare drum. No, it's not the snare drum. It's just in the toms. I cut that out and then cut out some of this stuff. Yeah. Let's listen, boost it a little bit over here. Cut something there. Let's just listen before and after the EQ. Turn it on. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like that so much. It made them sound a lot thinner. I probably, if I had time to work on this more, I would have let a little bit more of the lows come through, but also brighten them up a little bit. But I think when you add in the overheads in the room, it works out. So soloed, the tom tracks don't sound incredible. I could have worked with that a little bit more, maybe added some compression to make them pop a little bit more. But yeah, that's the tom tracks. Okay, overheads. I have just a single EQ on here, and I think here I was trying to cut out the snare drum a little bit so that I was getting the snare more from the direct snare mic than the overheads. So let's listen before. See here how the snare is really loud in the overheads. Now let's turn it on. It's still very much there, but I think I was cutting here to let the direct snare mic come through and do what it does best, kind of get that out of the way. Let's hear what that frequency sounds like boosted. Yeah, so you hear it's the snare drum. And of course, it's cutting out a lot of other stuff too. But for overheads, to me, overheads are just really good as an overall kit sound, just adding the air on all the drums and of course picking up the cymbals. So that's mainly, the overheads are mainly doing the high stuff. Definitely don't want much kick drum in the overheads. That'll be weird. So I was rolling off the lows and then cutting some of the snare drum. But here's what they sound like again with my processing. Let's get some cymbals. Yeah, so that EQ move, really, I don't feel like it affects the cymbals much at all, if any. It won't be noticeable at all. Okay, and then finally the room mic. Here, I think I was a little bit more dramatic. Compressor, then EQ. Let's listen to what it sounds like before any processing. A lot of low end in here from the kick drum too. And so the EQ, I cut out a lot of the low stuff. Yeah, more clean. Cut out some boxiness. cut out a little bit of the cymbals. Okay, and in hindsight, this EQ should have gone in front of the compressor. Like I said, I did this really fast last week, and just did my normal, what I normally do here. Okay, then compressor. I love compressors on room mics, and I set them really aggressive. Okay, not extremely aggressive, but more aggressive than, the drum bus compressor. And you can see I have the attack set faster because I do want it to kill the punch. Here, this is a dramatic version of the idea I was telling you about earlier with the drum bus compressor. Is you want to turn down those peaks so that the sustains can come up. And especially on the snare drum, the sustain is going to be that snare rattle. So I'm turning down the peaks of the snare drum so that the snare mic can come in and fill that gap. But then this compressor is going to let off and let those that sustain come through. So the air on the kick drum, the air on the toms, the rattle on the snare drum. And also it's kind of cool what it does to the cymbals. It gives them a little like sucking sound, which in general that might sound bad if your whole drum mix is doing that. But on the room mic, it sounds kind of cool. Let me see if I can find a part with a crash. It just gives it a little bit of that. It pulls back, kind of sucks down. Yeah, let's listen before the compressor, and then we'll turn it back on. Yeah, so that's what I do on the room mic. Yeah, let's listen to this whole drum mix again. So yeah, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing this year, and I don't want to be like do the same thing every time, like a formula. Each song has its specific needs, but this is my starting point. And as I add in more instruments, this drum mix might change a bit. But I like to get a really solid balance before I add anything else. A really solid drum mix, and then I can, pull the drum bus fader down, and then bring the drums into the mix. My mixed drums into the mix of the whole song. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Sorry, this is probably quite a bit longer of a video than I'm normally doing. Like I said, this is more of a blog video than anything else. It's not an instructional video. It's just showing you what I've been doing lately. Of course, it's not the only way. This is just how I've been doing it this year, and I think it sounds really good. If you watched this far, thank you so much. Like I said, sorry, this is a longer video. I'll tone it down in the future. I'm providing the multi-tracks, these drum multi-tracks to you if you want to practice mixing, if you want to hear what our drums sound like, if you want to try out what I did. If something was bothering you about the way I did it, you can fix it yourself. You can mess around with it. These tracks will be watermarked, just because, but if you're interested, those will be in the link in the description, so you can practice. Also, if you want to book us for a mix session or a drum session, you can visit our website, svaracharmusic.com/recording. There's also you can just check out that website and see what we're all about, what we've been doing lately. The link will be in the description. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.